Hi guys, welcome back to New England Fire Cooking. I'm Aaron Higgins, and tonight what we're going to do is we're going to do the first step of making a bread pudding with eggnog, because we just came off the holidays and eggnog is cheap right now. Every store has got like 40,000 gallons of this stuff and they just want to get it gone. So they're cutting the prices in half and it makes a really awesome bread pudding. So what I have here is I have half a loaf of two different types of bread. I've got just the regular Wonder Bread right here, and then I have this Portuguese sweet bread. This comes from Lou's Bakery in Fall River, Mass, and this is easily, bar none, the best Portuguese sweet bread in the world. So, if you want a really good Portuguese sweet bread, go to Lou's. If you want really good anything, go to Lou's. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna take this, and some people like to cut it into cubes and stuff like that. I don't do that. I just rip it all apart. After we have our bread all torn up and set aside in a bowl, what I did was I melted a stick of butter, and this is just an aluminum pan I bought at the grocery store. If you have a casserole dish, you could use that. I'm just going to take some butter and brush the bottom of the pan. This will give it some flavor and it'll also keep it from sticking. So once you got your pan nice and buttered, take the rest of this and just drizzle it over the top of the bread. Once you got it drizzled, what we're going to do is we're going to move this bread around a little bit. We're going to kind of toss it and just get a light coating of butter on the bread. This will also mix our bread up a little bit too and get it pretty well incorporated. Once we got our bread tossed, what we're going to do is we're just going to add it right to this pan. Now that this is all set, we're going to go and make the magical liquid that's going to turn this into pudding. Stick around. Okay guys, so as you can see, I've got all kinds of goodies here. What we have here is we have 6 large eggs that I threw in this bowl. We've got 2 cups of heavy cream, 2.5 cups of eggnog. We have a teaspoon of vanilla extract, a teaspoon of nutmeg, 1/3 cup of brandy. A lot of people like to use rum or whiskey or some kind of bourbon or whatever, but here we like brandy. And then we have a 1/2 cup of raw sugar, and that's granulated. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add all of this stuff into this egg mixture. We'll get that nutmeg in there. We'll get the vanilla in there. Get this eggnog right in there. Heavy cream. Brandy. And then, of course, our sugar. And what I want to do is I want to whisk all this up. So once everything's whisked and is all blended together nicely, what we're going to do is we're going to slowly pour this mixture over the bread. It's really important that all of this bread is completely soaked by this mixture. You don't want any dry pieces of bread here. So take your time and make sure that everything gets a good bath. So once everything's in there, I'm going to really just kind of flatten all this out. I really want this bread to marinate. Okay guys, so now that we got this bread pudding all pressed down in this pan, a good amount of liquid on it, this looks perfect. What we're gonna do is we're gonna cover it in some plastic wrap, we're gonna throw it in the fridge, and we're gonna let it sit overnight. The minimum you should let this sit in the fridge is 2 hours, but I like to go overnight, just to let all of this absorb and come together really, really well. It's gonna taste awesome. We'll see you tomorrow. Okay guys, so we've let this bread pudding sit in the fridge overnight and it's looking really, really good. You can see how everything's just absorbed into the bread and it's really come together, and this is gonna be absolutely awesome. It already smells good, it's not even cooked yet. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna run this down to the grill, and I've already got my Traeger fired up. We're gonna be running at 350 degrees over some hickory pellets. The sugar and the fat in this is gonna pick up that smoke flavor, just awesome. So stick around, we'll see you down at the grill. So we're down here at the pit. What we're gonna do is we're gonna throw this bad boy right in the very center. We're just gonna let this roll, check back in a half hour. Okay guys, so while our bread pudding is cooking, I've got a hot cast iron skillet here, and I'm gonna throw some butter in there. And I'm just gonna work it around. Let it cover the bottom really well. Now what I have here is I have about a cup to a cup and a half of chopped pecans. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna throw these in here. Then I'm gonna come back over with a decent sprinkle of brown sugar. And we're gonna let these candy up really well. Obviously, if you or anybody else that you're serving this to has a food allergy, or should I say a nut allergy, obviously you wanna leave these out. Go with fruit or something a little bit different. And move this around. Get that butter and sugar all over them. It's very important you don't burn these, so it's not going to take too much, so be really careful, do not burn these. Do this on medium to medium low heat, really doesn't take too much. Remember, you're just adding flavor, keep them moving, don't let them sit too long. So once our candied pecans are done, I have half a cup of packed brown sugar, a quarter of a cup of heavy cream, and a quarter of a cup or half a stick of butter in this little pot right here. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna throw this on the stove, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna let this melt, come to a very, very low boil, and then after that, we're gonna be adding some brandy and some vanilla to make a brandy sauce. I really wish I made the best brandy sauce in the world, but I don't. My mom makes the best brandy sauce in the world. So we'll see if this lives up to the April Higgins brandy sauce, but that's a little bit of a tall order to fill here, but I'm gonna do my best. So you wanna make sure, once again, that you don't let anything burn. You wanna keep it moving. And like I said, really, really, really low boil. You wanna be very, very careful when you do this. You don't wanna burn that brown sugar, because that brown sugar and the cream will burn. Butter will burn too, but it can take a little bit more abuse than the sugar can. So let that melt, let everything come up to temperature, but keep a very close eye on it. Do not walk away from this when you do this. Okay guys, as you can see here, we got some bubbling going on. And this is what I mean by low boil. Just bring it to a low boil, let it do its thing for just a couple of minutes, and then we're gonna pull it off and we're gonna mix in our brandy and vanilla. But that right there is what I'm talking about. Okay guys, so in this separate container right here, this little pot with a mouth on it, which is really pretty handy, what we're gonna do is we're gonna put a teaspoon of vanilla in there, quarter cup of brandy. Now we are going to add the rest of this sauce, or what will be our sauce. Make sure you get right in there and get all that goodness out of there, and then give it a good mix. And this is going to be buttery, sugary, boozy gloriousness. Once you get all of your sauce ingredients combined, get it back on some heat and let it cook a little bit. You just want to bring it to another light boil. Let some of that alcohol cook off. Most important thing about this is not letting it burn. You don't want to let it burn. You already gotten some bubbling here. Just keep it moving. Just keep it moving so it doesn't burn. So once you bring it to a light boil for about 5 minutes or so, you can go a little bit longer if you want to, depending on how hot you run it. But once you have it going for about 5 minutes or so, I'm gonna pull it right off. I'm just gonna set it aside. Okay guys, so it's been a half hour. We're back down at the pit here, and this is getting pretty close. See how we still have some wiggly giggly? You can still see in some places there's some liquid. This isn't quite ready yet. 20 more minutes and we should be right there. Okay, you guys, this is looking really, really good. It's plumped right up. It's firmed right up. It pulls away from the edges really easily. You want that. That's looking really, really good. This is gonna be awesome. We're gonna get it off the grill and we're gonna bring it upstairs. We're gonna let it sit and we're gonna let it rest for about 30 minutes or so before we dig right into this. Okay guys, so as you can see here, I've got a slice of this already on a plate, but I do want to show you this. This is really important. You want a nice, thickened and firm pudding. It's pulling away from the sides of the pan perfectly. All right, smells absolutely awesome. But before I get right into this and taste this here, let's do a quick run through of what we did here. So what I did was I took half a loaf of Portuguese sweetbread from Lou's Bakery in Fall River, Massachusetts. If you've never been there, go. It'll improve your life. Then I took half a loaf of Wonder white bread, just white sandwich bread. You want to use a bread that's really, really soft and is easy to pull apart. Okay, so what I did was I ripped all that apart and then I just tossed it in a bowl in some melted butter and just got it nice and covered in butter. And then I buttered this pan here so it wouldn't stick to the sides of it. And then after that, I cracked 6 eggs and I used 2.5 cups of eggnog, 2 cups of heavy cream, and then a half a cup of sugar, and then a teaspoon of nutmeg and a teaspoon of vanilla, and then obviously 1/3 cup of brandy. Mixed it all together, got it all well incorporated, and then I got the bread in the pan and slowly poured that eggnog, cream, brandy, sugar, spice seasoning mixture all over this and got it nice and wet. I patted it right down, made sure all of it was soaked. You don't want any dry pieces of bread. Then we covered it in plastic wrap, we threw it in the fridge, and we let it sit there for about 24 hours, well not 24 hours, overnight. So then afterwards what we did was we fired up the Traeger, ran over some hickory pellets at 350 degrees for about 45 minutes. 45 minutes was a perfect time for this. I checked it after about a half hour and it wasn't quite there yet. It was pretty close. After another 15, 20 minutes, it was perfect. Then we pulled it right out and we let it rest. And then we also made some brandy sauce, and this was made out of a half a cup of brown sugar, a 1/4 cup of heavy cream, half a stick of butter, and a teaspoon of vanilla, and a 1/4 cup of brandy. And you melted all this together, let it come to a light boil, and then add your brandy, bring it to a light boil again, and let some of that alcohol cook off, and then just set it aside. For your candied almonds, once again, if any of you guys have a nut allergy, don't bother using it, okay? Or keep them separate like this, and you can add it as you want. But all we did was just a quick dab of butter in a pan, good sprinkle of brown sugar, and about a cup of chopped pecans. Did I say almonds earlier? I meant pecans. Anyway, once you got these nice and candied, it really didn't take very long. You gotta be really careful with this sugar-heavy sauce and nuts here. You wanna make sure that you don't burn any of it. You can't walk away from any of this when you're cooking it. So what I'm gonna do here, without further ado, is I'm going to give this a shot. I'm gonna get some sprinkled nuts right on top of this bad boy. And I'm just gonna drizzle some of this brandy sauce. That looks awesome. Here we go. How do I attack this here? I suppose it doesn't matter. Make sure I get that pecan right there. All right. Everybody stop. Look. We've made some really good stuff on this channel. All right. But in all seriousness, this is probably one of the best things we've made on this channel. And I'm not kidding. I could eat this every day. Actually, no, I couldn't eat this every day. I would love to eat this every day. But you can't eat this every day because if you did, you would die. So, having said that, I'm gonna go right back in for more of this. Okay. Well, I can't say with supreme confidence that this brandy sauce lived up to the standard of April Higgins brandy sauce, but pretty freaking close, man. Having these candied pecans on here is awesome. Sweetness, crunch, nutty. Oh. This right here is a dessert for the ages. Real simple to make. It's perfectly moist, it's perfectly fluffy. It's not overly sweet. You're not overwhelmed with sugar, and you wouldn't believe the smoky flavor that you get into this by cooking it on the Traeger. And if you don't have a Traeger, you can try this on any grill. It might take a little bit longer if you use an offset smoker or something like this, but I see no reason why you couldn't do this on an offset or an ugly drum or stick burner or anything like that. If you don't have any of those, throw it right in the oven. Throw it in the oven. You know, love yourself here a little bit. You know, still make this, even if you don't have a grill. A lot of the stuff that we do on this channel, you can still do on a stovetop, or you can still do it in your oven. Of course, it's always better when you do it over fire. That's just my opinion, even if I'm 100% right. But, wow. This is absolutely mind-blowing. If you had some homemade vanilla ice cream or something like this right next to this, you're gonna go into a coma, but, oh man, it'd be worth it. Yeah. Guys, this is on point. I'm borderline speechless. Nom nom. Did I just drop something? Whatever. I'm in it. I'm in it for the duration, and I'm focused. Okay. Well, oh, there it is. Okay. Guys, look. If you like this type of stuff, and you like what we're doing here, and you want to see more of this, give us a subscribe. Okay, check us out on Facebook. Check us out on Instagram. We'd love to hear from you guys. If you have any feedback, any comments, leave them in the comments section. Okay, go and make this. Go and make this and put it in your body, and your life will just get better. Thanks for hanging out with us, guys. Can't wait till we do this again. I'm gonna have to be doing some more desserts on this Traeger. Traeger did a really, really good job with this. Gonna have to make some pies, some cookies. Oh yeah. But got a lot coming down the pike. Just picked up a really big meat order from Westerly Packing. I could go on and on and on, but I won't. Thanks for hanging out with us. We'll see you next time.